Mac Jones had himself a day today, too. The second pro day for Alabama this year. Lots of NFL brass on hand. You see him get warmed up there, throwing in Tuscaloosa. Probably most important, the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan watching every throw. Bill Belichick was there as well as Mac Jones able to throw to some of his favorite receivers, some of his favorite targets there in T-Town. Let's go back to Tuscaloosa. Greg McElroy there for Alabama's second pro day. And Greg, let's just start with this. Your impressions of Mac Jones today, especially after last pro day when he threw. He felt like he had a little bit to prove after that one.
Well, he came out after last week's pro day telling me he was disappointed with his performance. I said, why? He goes, well, after I looked at the tape, I was actually, it was a little better than I thought. I said, yeah, you think? I mean, you were dialed in last week from an accuracy standpoint, but I did ask him leading up to today's practice, I said, what did you want to show today? What do you want to be? He said, I just want to showcase my arm strength, and I want to showcase an athletic ability while throwing off platform. So I thought it was a really solid day for him. And there were a couple throws as well that he tried to pull off, similar to that of BYU's Zach Wilson last week, rolling full-fledged to the left, turning, throwing all arm back across his body, 40, 50, 60 yards downfield. He tried it not once, but twice. So try to one-up the BYU quarterback who's likely to go second overall in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You are seeing a little bit of competition amongst these quarterbacks that we expect to go very early in the draft at their pro days, which is kind of funny. All right, so one of the videos that we just saw was DeVonta Smith catching a pass from Mac Jones. Also saw Najee Harris out there. Who else impressed you? What did you see from those guys?
Well, DeVonta Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, opted to go through the Routes on Air seminar with Mac Jones, and we didn't know he was going to until 5 minutes before they took the field. He didn't even hardly warm up. DeVonta Smith clearly has nothing to prove. Talked to him after the work today, and he said, yeah, people were doubting my hands. I said, I haven't heard anybody doubting your hands.
Sometimes some of this adversity might be a little fictional to these guys, and it's interesting. You mentioned the relationship between DeVonta Smith and Mac Jones. Smith was the guy that was most upset during the season when people were saying that Mac Jones was a game manager. Thanks so much, Greg McElroy, joining us from Tuscaloosa. So, Adam, both Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch on hand to watch Jones for a second time. Are we reading into this?
No, you should be, again, noticing the fact that they're there because there's a reason they traded up for number 3. And part of the reason was Mac Jones having an option to take him. I think the thinking all along is that the Carolina Panthers really liked Mac Jones. I think there were people around the league who thought that the New England Patriots, with all their Alabama connections, might have some interest in trading up for Mac Jones. And so he is in that conversation. He is certainly under strong, heavy consideration from San Francisco to become that number 3 overall pick. So it would make sense for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to be there, along with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, who are not going to have a crack at Mac Jones in all probability with the move that the Niners made up on the draft board with the acceleration of the quarterbacks going in the first round. But they all gathered there to see all the talent on hand there at Alabama, and certainly the Niners wanted to get an up-close look at the man who they will consider taking with the number 3 overall pick.
Anybody else, when you see those guys gathered, you just try to read their lips a little bit? I actually think Belichick was telling a joke there based on the reactions. Okay, Mel, do you think Mac Jones is number 3 worthy?
Yeah, you can argue the ratings board that I just updated at 12 doesn't suggest that, but I've been talking about him screaming up into the top 10 and had him at Carolina at one point. Adam suggested all these quarterbacks are going to go, and that's that feeding frenzy we talk about. But when you look at what the 49ers have done in terms of getting into that 3 spot, Mike Shanahan, Kyle's father, drafted Kirk Cousins in the 4th round after you had taken RG3, had a very high opinion of Kirk Cousins. You think about where the 49ers are in the division with Kyler Murray, with Russell Wilson, and now Matthew Stafford. You don't want to have the 4th best quarterback in that division. Now, if they see that upside with Mac Jones and they want to go that route, and they know if we stay where we are, we can't get him. And the reason we could never project that trade, Lars, is because you knew that nobody would go from 3 to 12. Miami was not going to do that, but they had that trade with the Eagles worked out where they could tie it in and get back up to 6 to get that receiving entity. So it all worked out for the 49ers to be able to go up there without Miami, who they traded with initially, losing the player that they really wanted. So it worked out perfectly for all those teams, and now the 49ers, if they want Mac Jones, are guaranteed at 3 to get him.
Here's what one GM, not in the quarterback market, told me about Mac Jones, that they have higher grades on him, teams do, than the media does. They say Mac Jones got elite accuracy, elite processor of plays at the line of scrimmage, elite leadership. Now, again, that's some people. I did have one GM tell me he thought Mac Jones was a late one, early two. But another GM said that Mac Jones is higher on a lot of teams' boards than the media realizes.
Yeah, I know Mel's heard a lot of that same stuff, too. It's really interesting. Mina, the reality is right now, it's our job to try and critique these guys. So are there concerns in your mind with Mac Jones, and what are they?
Yeah, I'll be the token member of the media who apparently disagrees with some of these teams. Mel mentioned Kirk Cousins, and I think that's really accurate, really telling, especially, when we talk about the Niners and their interest in Mac Jones, because Marcus remembers when we were watching the national championship, we were talking about potential comps for the players, and I kept saying, Kirk Cousins, watching Mac Jones. They have a lot of similar traits, accuracy, decision-making, nice arm, but they have, and statistically, much like Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins, year after year, tends to finish in the top 10 in most metrics. But where he falls short, and I think this is the concern I have with Mac Jones is, is Kirk Cousins is not a playmaker consistently in the NFL. When the pocket breaks down, when he's asked to create, he doesn't have that sort of second reaction ability we've seen in some of these younger quarterbacks in the league. And Mac Jones, for all of his incredible statistics and accuracy and decision making, he only left the pocket 21 times, according to Sports Info Solutions. And when he did, he averaged less than 5 yards per attempt. He is going to have to leave the pocket in the NFL. He is going to play defenses that will make life difficult for him. And so my question for him is, when that adversity comes, what will he do?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.